Okay, so here's the thing about judgments, is that it says in the book of Galatians that when you correct somebody, do it with gentleness, lest you yourself fall into temptation. And there's a secret behind this verse that I've noticed in my life, a theme, is that whenever I have corrected somebody for a sin and I didn't do it in gentleness, I found myself being tempted by that same temptation and sometimes not having the strength to stand through it shortly after I had corrected the other person. And the spiritual principle here is that when we don't correct others with gentleness, we are actually ourselves sinning by the way we correct them, because we were not gentle and we were not humble about it. And because of that, we are giving the devil a foothold. We're giving that same spirit that we were exposing in the other person a foothold in us because of our sin. We're giving him legal access to us. And then that spirit attacks us and leads us into a similar temptation. Because when we correct somebody, we're not just correcting that person and their behavior, but we are exposing the spirit that has them bound, or the spirit that has them deceived into practicing those things. And so that spirit is not happy that it's being exposed. So it's going to try and come after you with all that it has and lead you into bondage and into suffering. But it can't do that unless it has a foothold. And when we fail to walk in gentleness with other people, especially when we're trying to bring correction to them, we ourselves are sinning and giving the devil a foothold. And oftentimes, I don't know if you've noticed it in your life, but oftentimes, shortly after that, we find ourselves in a similar scenario, and sometimes even falling into that same sin, which makes us hypocrites, and so it's not good. Sin must enter into the world, right? But woe unto the person that it enters into the world through, right? So it's not good. We don't want to be sinning, but we also don't want to be hypocrites, because God does not delight himself in hypocrites. That's even worse, sometimes. So there's an issue here of authority, and even Michael the archangel did not rebuke Satan. It says in the book of Jude, even Michael the archangel did not rebuke Satan, but he said, "The Lord rebuke you." Right, so here is the most powerful angel probably that we know of, Michael. And even he, in all of his authority, did not openly rebuke Satan. But he said, "The Lord rebuke you." Why? Well, because there is authority that God has put in place, and he is putting all things under his feet. He has not fully put everything under his feet. Why? Because there's an appointed time, guys. There is an appointed time for certain spirits or principalities to be judged. Right? We don't want to overstep our bounds and our authority judging things before their appointed time, because even Jesus didn't do that. When he met the man, the demoniac, with all these demons in him, and they saw Jesus coming, the evil spirits, they saw Jesus coming, and they said, "Oh, what are you doing here, Son of Man? Have you come to torment us before the appointed time?" So they knew that there was an appointed time and that the appointed time had not come yet. Therefore, when they asked Jesus to send them into the pigs, he did. He didn't destroy them. He didn't send them to the lake of fire to destroy the devils. Why? Because it wasn't their appointed time. And that's why he sent them into the pigs. And they are still probably roaming free to this day. And he didn't wipe them out yet. The question is why? Well, because evil must enter into the world. But woe unto the person it enters in through. But nevertheless, it must enter into the world. It has a purpose to serve while we're here. But we don't want to be those who are overstepping our authority and reviling against evil spirits, reviling against authorities who, though they may be evil, God has a purpose for them, and God has placed them in a certain authority. And sometimes when an evil authority afflicts somebody, it does help them. It does push them towards the light, to look for a savior, to look for the goodness, the light of the world, to counteract, to counterpart the darkness. And we've all been there. We've all seen how evil and affliction can push us towards God, and God allows that sometimes. So we don't want to overstep our authorities, and we also don't want to be the ones who are suffering from the affliction of evil authorities because of our own sin. That's suffering for unrighteousness' sake. We want to suffer for righteousness' sake. But it's also suffering for unrighteousness' sake to be the one who is reviling against dignitaries and overstepping our boundaries. So let us walk by the Spirit. If we walk by the Spirit, we will not gratify the desires of the flesh. And walking by the Spirit is best explained in this way: by bearing the fruits of the Spirit. If we bear the fruits of the Spirit, we won't gratify the desires of the flesh. All of the fruits of the Spirit are action words. They can be turned into action words. Let us love. Let us be at peace with all people. Let us walk in the joy of the Lord, which is our strength. And let us have gentleness. Let us have gentleness and kindness and patience and goodness and faithfulness and self-control. And all of those are mentioned in a specific, certain order for a reason. We love God because he first loved us. Therefore, the first fruit of the Spirit is love.